There is nothing more that we can learn or get from that house.
That's what it's kicked in. There's something evil in that house, and
yeah, it sounds
no.
So nobody is currently living there now, you said, correct?
No, nobody's been living there since about 2005, I want to say.
Do you know if anybody had any experiences that moved into the house after you did?
There was a lot of claims, or I shouldn't say a lot. There was one family that had like 6 children and several animals. The little kids said that they, got scratched, but they had puppies. Puppies are notable to be, always jumping and not in control of their claws and stuff. There was a woman, in fact, it was something that was aired on, I think it was Travel Channel's Most Haunted Town. And she was living at the house at the time, and they were supposed to, the group was supposed to be able to interview her and walk through the house and kind of get a feel for her and, kind of give viewers, a clue about this most haunted house here. And she actually would not let him in the front door.
She barricaded
or past that front room. She had rearranged the furniture so that the living room sofa was, across. You couldn't get past. She was later removed from the house or asked to leave from the house because the owner ended up finding pentagrams in the house. I later visited with one of her daughters that lived in the house while she lived there, and the daughter, even though the mom said there was no activity in the house ever, the daughter said many different things. Waking up, sleeping on the floor, waking up next to what looked like a corpse, like a teenager next to her. She said it was so startling, so upsetting, so gross, so realistic. They did have things move in the house. They did have noises in the house.
Did you ever get any indication in all the research of anything that possibly could have happened in that house or on the property that could have caused any of this?
Nothing in like the news records or anything. The most that stands out is probably the eccentricity of the Finney male that became mayor. He was quite eccentric. He could have probably dabbled in all kinds of different things. He actually dressed as a woman and entered skating competitions and won championships.
Oh, yeah, I read about that in your history.
Yeah.
So skating with the stars even back then.
That's right.
Yeah,
oh, gosh.
So it kind of makes you wonder what else might he have gone into that was against the norm. I mean, could he have gotten into voodoo or, Satanism?
True. Satanic ritual.
Or even the occult, which was there were different aspects of the occult that were very popular back during the spiritualism movement of the late 1800s.
Right.
Now, go ahead, Tony.
I was just going to say also, that house being so old, people didn't know that in the 1950s there was a huge flood here in Atchison, and this house sits up on the river bluffs, and it destroyed almost this whole town. Everything was underwater, and a lot of the records from back that long ago were completely lost. You kind of run into walls when you're looking stuff up because everything's gone now. It was destroyed.
It wiped out First Street, which would have laid behind our house. In fact, that one little tidbit about the house, the Sallie house, the front of the house right now was actually the back of the house at one time when it was built. And like Tony said, it sits on the bluffs. There's some stonework almost. That's at the back of the house would maybe have been considered like the drive pulling up to the house. The door in the back of the house is a lot wider and fancier. It's flanked by 2 windows. The arch is a little different. So you can see, we didn't realize that when we lived there, one of the investigative groups that came up had brought that to our attention.
So you feel that the house was spared during this flood? Like the house itself was spared and everything else around it was destroyed?
No, not Second Street, because there's several other old homes on Second Street that were not affected. But
the whole street that runs in front of the house now was back in the 1800s on the whole other side of the house. It's like they did a whole switch. The front used to be the back, and the back used to be the front back in the 1800s.
Because the flood came in and did so much damage on the riverfront's edge that it totally wiped out and made unsecure that what would have been First Street.
Wow. So, what are you, Deborah and Tony, what are you both doing today? I mean, obviously this happened so many years ago. You're still obviously talking about this a lot. I'm sure you get a lot of questions over the years about what happened. But what are you doing with your lives today?
I know we do some investigating, and
we apply a lot of what we learned from that house and the experiences that we had, the EVPs, the theories that we've drawn, and conclusions that we've kind of, 90% concluded from our experiences there. We've applied that to other situations, other extreme hauntings. There's many times we're called in on other cases. There's cases that we work ourselves, that people have contacted us. We talk at the conventions. We just got back from Gettysburg a couple weeks ago. We're up in Chicago. We do kind of lectures, even like the Girl Scouts get together and, they want to hear about the stories and such. So we make ourselves available with the website that's been up for about 4 years. We just try and make ourselves available to others who might, have a comparable haunting, because there wasn't anything really out there to help us way back when.
And personally, for me, it's kind of I remember how alone I felt. I felt like I was in a box. There was nobody to call, nobody to talk to, nobody to... And to me, just if somebody goes through what I went through, just to have somebody to talk to or they can somebody help, I mean, is that's my biggest thing. I don't want anybody to feel that alone like I felt.
Well, following up on that, what would be your advice to anyone who thinks that they're having a similar type extreme haunting? What would you tell them to do?
My first thing would be get out. And I tell you what helped me was my faith in God. If it wasn't for that, I don't think I'd made it out. And people have to realize there is evil out there. I mean, not every haunting's as severe, but it's out there. And just like evil, there's good. And you have to have a strong faith in God to make it through it, I think.
We've grown a lot in our faith, because even to this day, when there's investigators over at the house and we learn this kind of after the fact of them being there, we would have activity here. We would have fires, or he'd be scratched or something be thrown across the room, and we were wondering what the heck is up. Well, come to find out, a week or two later, there was a group in there that was a very challenging group, and to this day we feel, I'm going to say, the repercussions. There's times that we feel an influence between us, and we're arguing over the most ridiculous things. I mean, hateful arguments, and we realize, okay, there's something here that's kind of infiltrated our harmonious life here, and so we've learned over time to recognize it rather quickly, and we can take a step back and say, okay, this isn't you, this isn't me, and it kind of lets the air out of its sails, so to speak. And with our faith in God and prayer, and it's the only thing that kind of keeps our sanity. I mean, seriously, some people might think, oh, that's kind of a lame way to go about it, but that's the only thing that I can really attribute to keeping us together through all that we've gone through. We're still at it. We're still in love. We're still rearing our children and living life, and for the most part, we're a very happy couple.
That's awesome to hear that, and to go through such a trial and such an extreme experience and still come out stronger for it. I mean, that just shows to your character. And thank you very much for sharing your story with us. I mean, we're just enthralled hearing about what your experience. Now, you do have a book out about the whole haunting called The Sallie House Haunting. And where can people find that? They can get that on Amazon.com or at the booksellers?
Exactly. They can also go to our website, www.thesalliehouse.com. And Sallie is spelled Sallie. And every book that's sold off of our website is signed by both Tony and I. I may have actually written the book, but I was only the one that could put it into words. You know, this is just as much of a book of Tony's, maybe even more so than mine. And it depicts in great detail the experiences of when we went to the house. I wanted the reader to be that fly on the wall that experienced everything. And I've gotten a lot of positive feedback. I've had people actually say that. So I hope it's going to be a good read for anybody else who might be interested in this case.
Well, I'm in the middle of reading it myself. I actually downloaded it on my Kindle, and I love Kindles. That's the newest great device. And I'm enjoying it so far.
I wanted to say that, it was a real pleasure meeting you at Phenomenology in that you are very approachable. So if anyone actually wants to meet them or talk to you guys, where are you going to be next?
We don't have any big plans right now. We did just book a book signing down at the Chamber of Commerce in Atchison here. We're looking at something maybe towards the latter part of the year in LA, not cemented yet. But we do have an update box on our homepage. So if people want to, know where we're going to be or what we're going to be doing or what's going on, they can go to our homepage and read, exactly what's happening.
And we really try to answer everybody.
That's great. Whoops. Well, that's great. Well, Debra and Tony, I really want to thank you very much for being on the program. It's been an extreme pleasure talking to you. We'll definitely have to have you back again sometime in the future. And again, our guests tonight have been Debra and Tony Pickman. They've authored the book, The Sallie House Haunting. And again, it's been great talking to you tonight.
We want to thank you, too, for giving us the time and the opportunity to speak to your listeners and take the time, to hear what we have to say.
So that's it for this edition of Unknown Origins Radio. Be sure to tune in every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern as we discuss all things paranormal here on the Decadence Radio Network, Radio with Attitude. And we sign off as usual by saying goodnight, John, wherever you are.